Hi everybody. So for today we're going to be talking about proving shapes using coordinate geometry. So that involves using the distance, midpoint, and slope formulas. So I'm going to just take a second to write down the formulas in case you forgot them. So here are the three main formulas we'll be using to prove, we have that a certain shape. So the two types of shapes we're talking about are quadrilaterals and triangles. So if you remember this quadrilaterals, we didn't do it too long ago. Let's fill in the pieces that we know here. So here's everything we know about this diagram. So if you take a look here, to prove that it's a parallelogram, we could do four slopes. Four slopes would be enough to tell us that we have two pairs of parallel sides. Four slopes could also tell us that we have a rectangle too, because we need perpendicular sides. But then, if I want to prove it's a rhombus, I need to do four distances to show that all sides are congruent. But if I want to show it's a square, I have to do the four slopes and the four distances. I have to do both to prove that it's a rectangle and a rhombus. To prove it's a trapezoid, I need to prove I have one pair of parallel sides, so I would do four slopes. To prove it's isosceles trapezoid, I would do the non-parallel sides congruent, so I would do two distances. Then to prove that I have a kite, I need to have two pairs of consecutive sides congruent. So I need to do four distances. But usually kite is not brought up in these proofs. So if you need a pause and really soak in what was just discussed, go for it. And then let's discuss triangles. With triangles, you need to really pay attention to the type that they're asking you to solve or prove. If I have an equilateral or equiangular, that means three sides are congruent. I need to do three distances. Isosceles, I always have this saying that it sounds like like how many eyes are on your face, and you have two eyes. So isosceles means two sides congruent, so I'm still going to do distances to prove that. Scalene is zero sides congruent, so I'm still going to do distance to prove that. And then if I say right, which means I need to have a right angle, I need to prove that I have a 90-degree angle. So I need to have perpendicular sides. Slope would help me prove that. So if you need to pause here and take down some notes, this is really going to help you. So I'm going to do one example with you. I'll do number 3 here. It says we need to prove that ABCD is a rectangle given those coordinates. So here's what I suggest. I suggest on the side here, you create a rectangle. Now I'm wondering why. Not that it matters. It's okay. I never had them fill in the box before, but that's okay. Makes the shape stand out. So this coordinate is 0, 2. This coordinate here is 4, 8. This coordinate here is 7, 6. And this coordinate here is 3, 0. So if I need to show that it's a rectangle, I need to ask myself, what's the best way that I could prove it's a rectangle? So starting with the idea that I have a quadrilateral, I need to do 4 slopes to prove it's a parallelogram. Once I do 4 slopes to prove it's a parallelogram, the 4 slopes should also be enough to tell me it's a rectangle. So really, I just have to do the 4 slopes. But for those of you who have trouble remembering a chart like this, your shortcut is to do 4 distances and 4 slopes for all 4 sides. Then that should be enough information to tell you anything about this shape. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to do the 4 distances and 4 slopes. So there you have it. The 4 distances and the 4 slopes. So notice what I did here. I said, okay, one of my sides is AB. I did here are the 2 coordinates from A to B. Here's the distance formula. That's my length. Here's the slope formula. There's my slope. Now, again, distances and slope can help us in a lot of ways. So let's just say if I didn't even do the slope, let's say I only did the distances. This is only enough information to tell you you have a parallelogram because the opposite sides are congruent. It's not enough to tell you it's a rectangle. You have to have the slope to have the 4 right angles. Now you didn't need distance at all. You could have just done the slope and said, hey, opposite sides are parallel, so it's a parallelogram, and consecutive sides, or sides that are next to each other, are negative reciprocal slopes. So notice this is 3 over 2, this is negative 2 over 3. That means these two are perpendicular. So that's a key thing there that you need to remember. Perpendicular means they have negative reciprocal slopes. Now, that should be in your explanation. You need to have a final conclusion. So there's my conclusion. I said ABCD is a rectangle because it's a parallelogram with two pairs of opposite sides parallel, and it has 4 right angles with opposite reciprocal slopes, or negative reciprocal slopes. That's what this is right here. So really, that's how you do a proof, given the coordinates. You just have to do all the math, and then when you're done with the math, you just have to write a final statement explaining that math. So I want you to try the rest of these problems. So here's 1 and 2. Here's 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to put the answers here for you. So pause it here and come back when you're ready. So here you have it. Here is all the work for each of the problems. I did the, for all of them, I could have done the distances and slopes, but since for the first one it only asked for a parallelogram, I figured I'd just do the slopes and show that opposite sides are parallel. When I wanted to show it's a rhombus, I could have just done all 4 distances, saying that opposite sides are congruent, so it's a parallelogram, and then showing that all of them are congruent because it's a rhombus. But I chose to do the slope and the distance, so there's multiple ways that you could do this. You just really have to know your properties. And then for the rest, I still did distances, slopes, distances, slopes, distances, slopes. It's really more convenient because then you have enough math for sure to explain what kind of shape you have. So if you'd like to pause the video here, check all your work, and if you have any questions, let me know. Have a great day, everybody. We just have one more week.